these cases. Tonight we have a singer. That's my thing because I'm a choral and vocal guy. But I think an awful lot of this applies whether you're a percussionist or a bassoonist or a violinist or a singer. So I think all of this applies very generally. We're going to talk mostly tonight about real in-person auditions because it's hard to believe right now, 9 months into this nightmare of no singing and no music and no ensemble music making, but ensemble music making will return, choirs will return, orchestras will return, jazz bands will return. We don't know exactly when, but it will happen, and auditions will return as they once were in person. And I think a lot of this applies to virtual auditions as well. Okay, so let's go forward. Megan, if you can do the next slide. We're going to talk about 3 components. They are very obviously before, during, and after the audition. So next slide, please. We'll talk about before. What are the things you need to do to get in the zone for putting forward your best possible performance? Okay, next slide. Some of these are really blindingly obvious, but you'd be surprised. And the way I put this together was I thought back to my 18, 19 years of sitting on audition committees and being on the other side of the aisle and hearing you folks sing and play and going, that did not work the best for them, or, oh, that was nice. Okay, so I have a lot of experience doing this, and there are a lot of things that I notice that people do that they shouldn't be doing. Make sure you know where the audition is, right? This is a big deal. You'll probably be going to a new place if you're auditioning for a program. Make sure you know where it is. Seems obvious, you'd be surprised to people that just don't know where they're going. Okay? And then the golden rule, if you want to make it as a musician, as a music therapist, as anybody working in the arts, early is on time and on time is late. At least 15 minutes early to your scheduled time. That's on time. That's not early. That's on time. Do not ask the committee to fit you in if you're late. They won't do it, and they'll get mad at you for daring to suggest that because it's a waste of their time. So we live in a culture where being on time isn't as prized as much as it should, in my opinion. And so you need to get in the habit if you're going through life as a working musician or even an avocational musician. 15 minutes early is on time. On time, if you're walking in the moment of the audition, you're late. Next slide, please. Okay. Let's talk about dress. Okay. It is really impossible to dress too formally for an audition. Okay. Maybe not like ball gowns and bow tie and tuxedos, right? But if you have a question about how to dress, err on the formal side. Ladies, if you get shakes or if you're fidgety, consider trousers, because I've seen so much fidgeting with the hem of the skirt that is really, really distracting. So be aware of that as well, okay? Where there's an option, the more conservative and the more comfortable is best. Next slide. So nerves are a fact of life. I like nerves. I've come to the point in my career where I like nerves because I find that they focus me and sharpen my concentration. How do we deal with nerves? They are an inevitable reality especially of taking an audition. The good news is they get less and less with each audition you do. So one thing that's not on here that I would say is very important: take lots of auditions for the experience. You may not even be interested in singing in the choir that you're auditioning for or having a principal role in the musical that you're auditioning for. Just take the audition anyway, because I'll tell you what, for each audition that you do, it gets easier. That's just a fact. Your body gets used to the pressure of this type of situation. What are other ways you can do it? I wrote the word hydrate 3 times because it's really important, and that's the case if you're a violinist or a singer. Okay? Be hydrated so you can be at your best. Get lots of sleep. I know this is easier said than done, but it's important. Bananas. I know professional gig musicians auditioning for major orchestras who swear by eating just like half a dozen bananas right before they go on, especially if they're playing something from memory. I think it's the potassium in them that contributes to memory and focus. It's a weird thing, but I know that a lot of people swear by eating lots of bananas. Okay? Be prepared. Be prepared, and also be prepared. If you're not prepared to do your best work, then you shouldn't be going on. Okay? And then finally, warm up. Then warm up some more, a lot. And also, don't forget to warm up. And that comes in with being on time and enough time to be fully warmed up. Okay? Next slide. Okay. Let's talk about how to prepare the music for the accompanist, because as Brenda over here can tell you, this is a real trouble spot. Hole punched, double-sided paper in a 3-ring binder is good. This bunch of loose leaf papers that you ask her to spread out across the music stand is not good. Okay? But I've seen a lot of people come up and give them a bunch of papers which they're expected to spread all across the music stand. None of them are connected. None of them are hole punched or taped together. Okay? This is a definite no-no, and you want your accompanist on your side and rooting for you when you start your audition. One way to get him or her against you very quickly, very, very quickly, is to present him or her with a huge bunch of loose leaf papers. Have them hole punched or taped together in order, double-sided. Right, Brenda? Brenda gives me the thumbs up. Thank you. Okay, so 14 separate sheets, which the company said to spread all the way down the music stand, is not good. Never, ever, ever give the accompanist a full choral score. You may think this is weird, especially for vocalists. Could you go to the next slide, please?
Yeah, we are having a little, they can't see you right now, so I'm trying to fix.
There you go. Can you see me now? I see myself there.
I know, I see you too, but I'm just going to stop sharing for a second. Okay, now they can see you. So if you want to show them about the pages again, I'm just going to have to switch back and forth to the slideshow.
Okay.
Sorry, guys.
Pages.
It worked in rehearsal, I promise.
Pages. Don't do this. I brought this visual aid all the way from my office, so we better get used to it. Okay, can you go back to the slideshow?
Yes, I sure can. And actually, I'm going to share my desktop so I can go back and forth a little more easily. But that means everybody can see all of my open mess if I'm not careful. So, all right, here we go. We should be good.
No, you're good. You're good. Yep. I think everybody should be able to see me in the. Yeah. Okay, this is what not to give your accompanist, especially if you're a vocalist, right? This is a huge open choral orchestral score here. The solo part is on the top. You may think there's no way anybody would ever give that to a accompanist. I've seen it many, many, many times. Not all of our accompanists are as brilliant as Brenda and can read this kind of stuff. In fact, most can't. So really think about what you present and make sure that it is readable and clean and bound together in a way that is going to be respectful and easy for the accompanist. Okay, next slide. Mock auditions in front of your peers are painful but very helpful. Videotaping yourself before you take the audition is also very painful and very difficult. I hate nothing more than watching myself conduct because I'm my own worst critic, and I expect you all are too. But it can be really helpful to see things that you just simply didn't know that you were doing. In my conducting class, I make all of my students videotape their quizzes and their tests, and then we watch them together so that we can show them what they're doing. Very important. Okay. Don't come up and sing a cappella without the accompanist helping. Okay, an a cappella song is really not a good audition choice because it doesn't tell us whether you sing in tune with another instrument or perform in tune with another instrument, and it doesn't tell us how you work with other musicians. Okay? So this is really important. A lead sheet is not okay. And neither notated music is the best possible. Okay? Unless it's like a solo cello suite or something that's supposed to be done with the solo, that's fine. But a piece that has a piano solo should always be done with that piano solo. Doing it unaccompanied is not going to show you at your very best. Okay, so those are all the things about before. Let's go to the next slide. During. Now we're not going to talk about the technical aspects of how to play your xylophone beautifully or how to sing beautifully. We're going to talk about the etiquette things. So these are all, in my mind, equally important when I watch somebody auditioning. I'm trying to figure out if I want to bring them into my group or bring them into our school. Next slide. Should you audition for memory or not? The former, auditioning for memory is always better, but not if you're going to blank in the middle of that audition. You should be able to perform your piece 5 times perfectly before you even consider the idea of singing or playing from memory. Okay? I mean that because the worst thing you can do, I would much rather see somebody sing beautifully or play beautifully from sheet music than try to do it from memory and crash and burn. So if you can audition for memory, absolutely do it, but only if you can do it 5 times in a row from memory, absolute perfection. Okay. So let's talk about what happens before we actually start our rehearsal here. So we'll finally bring in Sam and Brenda, who have been waiting very patiently here. Usually you will walk into an audition situation and you will not be granted a rehearsal prior with the accompanist, right? You'll just have to walk in, she'll have the music on her stand, you'll have your music or you'll put your music on her stand. We're not going to do that because of social distancing tonight. And of course, she would be standing a lot closer in a non-pandemic world, but it is what it is. So you have a very brief amount of time to convey to your accompanist what it is that you want in terms, especially in terms of tempo. Okay? What we don't want to do is walk over to the accompanist and say, okay, now here at 72, we're going to slow down a little bit. And then in bar 95, watch me because I'm going to speed up a little bit of a rallentando here at bar 48. And then if you could play really forte here, that is wasting everybody's time. So these long conferences about how exactly you want the music to go, don't do it. You have really 2 options. You can either go, greet your accompanist, and give her a metronome marking.
Hi, I'll be singing on your core at metronome 110.
That's all you need. Okay? Or you can just simply sing 1 or 2 bars of the piece in the tempo that you want. And that's all she needs, and we're off to the races. And the rest of the communication we'll do while the music is happening. Okay? An endless conference on minutia of rubato in front of the judges is not good. Okay? And I've seen this many times. One thing that I see a lot too is the auditioner, the auditionee, I should say, conducting or snapping at the accompanist because they don't like the tempo that the accompanist had given them. For example. Thank you. That's so painful to watch. I can stop it right now. That's a great way to make your accompanist really irritated by you. And it's a wonder that Brenda hasn't stormed off the stage at this point. Do not do that, and do not conduct them or do not look over them and tell them to go faster or to slower. You get what you get, and you don't pitch a fit, right? You take what they have, and again, this is an artist that you want on your side as you go through this process. Okay. Next slide, please. Oops.
Sorry.
There we go. Okay, so once you're ready to go, how do you get on stage? How do you take your place? Sam's moving off the stage. There's a good way to do this, I think. Okay, move swiftly to your spot with confidence. Good. Normally she would be in the crook of the piano, but we're observing 6-foot social distancing tonight. And then speak as little as possible. You don't want to go on an extended explanation of what your piece is, what you're singing about, who the composer was, et cetera, et cetera. Assume that your judges know that already. They probably do. And you're going to say,
Hi, my name is Sam Potter. I'm singing All Mio Cor by Handel.
That's all you need to do. Okay? A bad thing would be to go, I'm singing All Mio Cor by George Frederick Handel. This is from the opera. What opera is it?
Alcina.
What?
Alcina.
Alcina. And it was premiered in 1714 in London. What I'm doing now is singing about a woman who's lost his beloved and is very sad about it. Right? They know all that. Assume they know all that. Okay? And that is all you need to do. One more time, Sam, because that was so great.
Hi, my name is Sam Potter. I'll be singing All Mio Cor by Handel.
Judges who perceive they are wasting your time will be really resentful of that, especially when they're hearing dozens and dozens and dozens over the course of a day. Okay? So once that's done, you need to figure out a way for Brenda, your accompanist, to get on board. So you walked on, you do the little conference about tempo, you've announced your piece, you come back to the crook of the piano or farther away in our distant stage. Okay? We look down, we take 3 breaths, in, out, in, out, in, out. And then we do what I call unrolling the carpet or unrolling the magic carpet with your eyes. Try it again, go down and unroll. That's right. That's all you need to do because your accompanist will see that and will take the cue. Oh, yeah, okay, she's ready to go. What you don't want to do is get up there, hello, my name is Justin, and I'm going to sing blah, 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 blah. Don't do that. And I've seen that a lot. Okay. Right? Just look down, breathe, unroll the magic carpet, and she's off. We do that whole process again. Get off. Okay, so she's called on. Look at that confident walk, very nice. You announce.
Hi, my name is Sam Potter. I will be singing All Mio Cor by Handel.
And at that point, you can go over. Yep.
I would like it at metronome 100, please.
Or you sing a little bit. That's fine. Okay. Head down. Meanwhile, Brenda is watching her like a hawk. Unroll the carpet. That to me took about 15 seconds for all that to happen. And that's perfect because it gets right to the music making, which is what the judges want to see. It communicates all the information. And that's just professional, and it's crisp and clean and fast and efficient. Anything else to add to this process, ladies? So far, so good? Often there's a question of, well, okay, if you're a performer, where are you looking during this audition? I think it's a bad idea to look the judges in the eye, right? Richard Strauss, the composer, once said advice to conductors: don't look the low brass in the eye because it only encourages them, right? Same thing. Don't look your judges in the eye. It's weird. It freaks them out. It freaks me out if I have a singer looking right at me like this. Okay. So what I do, if you can put the camera on Sam, is I find a spot just maybe about that far in my fingers above the judges' heads. And I say, okay, that is my sweet spot. In this case, it's an exit sign you can't see above the back staircase. And I'm going to sing right to that. And I'm not going to look at any of them in the eye. I'm not going to look down. I'm not going to look side to side. I'm going to look right over their heads. I think that's a good idea. Next slide. This is something about visual presentation that is so important, especially if you are a singer, because our instrument is our body and our body is our instrument. This also goes for instrumentalists as well, but in particular, it's very, very important for singers. It is simply not enough to sing the song beautifully. You need to present it visually in a pleasing manner that helps tell the story of what you are doing. This can be hard. This can be hard. I grant fully that this can be hard for people to act and gesture and show facial expressions. It's something that's worth your while to work on developing that confidence because it is so important for a successful audition. I would much rather see a song sung with visual engagement that had some flaws in it than a song sung exquisitely where the person is an absolute statue. So Sam has agreed to demonstrate both those ideas. It's a little weird because we're all wearing masks. You'll just have to take my word for it that on the second time, she's going to be showing a lot of facial expression. In fact, we were talking about how this is kind of a good pedagogical thing, is to sing with a mask on and still express what you're talking about. First time is going to be statue singing. The second time is going to be the right way to do it. Okay? Technically very beautiful, right? Boring, so boring. Okay. Try it again the right way. That's so much better. And speaking personally, I'm willing to forgive a few vocal faults if I get that kind of visual performance out of her, especially if we're talking about a theater production audition, because that's so important. Okay, thank you both. Tell the story, and even if you're an instrumentalist, the rule applies too. Really important. All right, next slide. Oh, I'm sorry. No, there's one more thing. Especially singers, but also instrumentalists, if you're doing a piece with piano, often you will have a piano playout, right? Where you are done playing or singing, and the piano has 8 or 16 bars still to go to finish up the song. The worst thing you want to do is check out during that playoff. And I've seen this happen 1,000 times. They are done singing, they're done playing. Okay, I'm done. You have to stay engaged all the way through. You are still performing until she plays the last note at the keyboard. And that's really, really important. We try the end of this song, and Sam's going to show how she continues to engage her body and her instrument, even though she's not making music. That's right. That's right. That's right. But we do that thing. But I've seen this so many times. I was exaggerating that a little bit, but you'd be surprised. I see that a lot, where they check, they said, I'm not performing anymore. I'm done. Okay, that was wonderful, Sam, what you did. Yep, very good. Do we have a question here? Do we need to, Teresa, do we need to keep our arms to our side, or can we also use our arms while we sing? Sam, come here. What do you like to do? What do you do with your arms when you sing?
I try not to fidget with my clothes.
Yeah, which is what I was talking about. Be careful, ladies, about wearing the skirt, because I've seen fidgeting with the skirt. If wearing trousers helps, because you don't have anything to fidget with, that would be great. Yeah, fidgeting is a real bad thing because it's distracting to the judges, and it's a nervous habit that's going to happen. I think using your arms is a very good thing, because to me it helps tell the story, right? All the things she was doing on the second time through when she was acting it out emotionally, especially with this dang mask on, she was doing so much with her arms. And I think a performance where your arms are glued to your side the whole time is not going to be particularly interesting to watch. Okay, so I would encourage you to absolutely move those arms, especially if you're a singer, because again, our instrument is our body, and our body is our instrument. So absolutely, I would move it. Don't, if a teacher tells you that you're supposed to sing like this, they're wrong, and they're a bad teacher, and you should get a new teacher. Okay. Good.
At the same time, you don't want to mime your song.
Yeah.
You don't want to mime everything, but have nice, strong gestures.
Right.
In certain areas and mark it in your music so you know you're going to do that.
Yeah, it shouldn't necessarily be improvised. It should be
right.
It should be pre-planned. That's a great point that Brenda made. Yeah. For instrumentalists, how would you like to see one express themselves? That is Christian. I think the same way, Christian. I think seeing a visual engagement with the instrument is so important. I think so much music is based, and Christian, if I remember correctly, you're a percussionist, so I think a physical engagement with the music is so important. The best professional instrumentalists play their instrument, and they absolutely dance with it. Right? They don't play a violin. Peter DeVries is on this call, I believe, one of our really wonderful professors and a really renowned violinist, and he does not play like this. Right?
Yes, moves. Peter DeVries has a habit of moving.
What did he say?
He has a habit of moving.
Yeah, he moves, but all the professionals do that.
I was going to say percussion, having watched Evelyn Lenny.
Evelyn Lenny, yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
You hear the music in her, so.
Yep. It's just not enough to stand there and perform it accurately, right? The movement is visually appealing, but it also helps the music that you're making come alive, and that's really important. And I'll be the first one to admit that can be really hard, because it takes getting outside of significant comfort zone that most people have. These are great questions. Thank you.
I think the screen was kind of small and they couldn't see the motions as well. That's why I stopped sharing.
Got it. So. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Next slide, if you don't mind, Brent. Meg.
Yep.
Okay.
On to the next.
Yeah, now we're on to the next one. Yep. So now that we've done the audition, this is a weird thing that a lot of people may not be prepared for, or it's coming, but you're not prepared for. There will almost never be any applause after you're finished, right? We as performers love, or just speaking for me as a performer, I love nothing more than warm applause after I finish sort of bearing my soul to people, right? Musically and artistically. you will get nothing. People don't applaud because they don't want to seem biased towards one auditionee over the other. So don't be offended and don't freak out if you don't hear any applause. Prepare yourself for the very odd sensation of absolute silence after you finish pouring out your soul to these 4 or 5 people, and a very quiet thank you. This is what that sounds like. Sorry. What we want to hear right now is, what we're going to get is probably this. Thank you. And you're done, right? That's probably what you'll get, okay? It doesn't mean you did a poor job. It's just a professional thing that audition panels do so that they don't show favoritism towards any particular performer, okay? So all you do is you hear a thank you from the table in front of you, respond, thank you very much, and walk off the same way you came on, which is with confidence and smile. Even if you feel like you totally just bombed that thing, don't show it to them. Okay? Let's try. And don't say, "Oh, that was terrible." Definitely don't do that either. Can we end it one more time, ladies, and then I'll do the thank you, and walk off. Not quite as fast as that. You don't want to look like you have a hot date to get to. Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah. Come on back. Yeah. Thank the judges. Leave the room with assurance and confidence, even if you feel you did not do your best, which you almost always will, right? This is a lifelong task that we have as performers to give the perfect performance. And I'll end with a quick story, if you don't mind, which is about that, which is about the idea of, is there such a thing as the perfect audition or the perfect performance? When I was a grad student at the University of Houston, we had a very, very, very world-renowned pianist on our faculty named Abby Simon. He had played all over the world for his entire career. He was like in his 90s when I was there. He passed away recently. And he told us a story once where he said there was one instance, 30, 40 years ago, where he came home from his performance. He looked himself in the mirror and he thought, that was the best, most perfect performance I have ever given or probably ever will give again. There's no way that I could ever top the performance that I just gave. And he was just so delighted. He went to bed and he woke up next morning to some of the worst reviews of his career for that performance. And that tells all you need to know about your perception of things and how things are not always what you think, and how perfection is something that you can't ever be satisfied with. You can't ever think that you've reached perfection, because it is truly a lifelong pursuit, especially when you're performing for people who are frankly judging you. So that is all I have for tonight.
I have a question from my phone, or just could you speak to how to prepare? Do we do all the same stuff for a virtual audition?
Yeah. I think yes. I think there's not all the conferencing that has to happen, but for a virtual audition, You want to think about slightly different things, although the fundamentals here are really the same. A good audition is a good audition, and a lot of these fundamentals apply. I think you have to be more careful about lighting and about the sound quality as you because you're presenting yourself in one particular way on screen. So, you know, if you are not blessed with technological know-how like I am, getting help is probably a really good idea. But I've seen some weird virtual auditions. You know, I remember seeing one who was literally, the student was a pianist, and the student must have gone to some like piano factory. He was sitting in this room of like 1,000 other pianos, just playing one of these pianos. So think about you know, be a Hollywood director for one moment. Think about camera angles, think about lighting, think about sound, all those kinds of things. Sorry?
What's on the wall behind you?
What's on the wall behind you? Yeah, that's right. But really, all this stuff that we talked about still applies. A good audition is a good audition, and hopefully the age of the virtual audition, at least once you're in college, will go away quickly. Although it is more and more of a thing for entrance to collegiate music programs, for sure. But if I were to submit a virtual audition, I would do all these things. I would just make sure that it's visually appealing and that it makes sense. Yeah.
And even there were some things we would have changed tonight. Our lighting isn't exactly like we wanted it. So checking it out ahead of time is really important.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we came here an hour before, and we barely were ready to go because there were all sorts of technological
had some
snafus.
Hiccups.
Yeah.
And then Peter's asking if you have any stories about winning an audition that you thought you bombed.
Yeah. You know what? That's a good question. I don't know. Have you guys ever?
I do.
Yeah, tell us, Sam.
When I first was applying to colleges, I auditioned with bronchitis. I ended up getting a scholarship.
Yes.
Shock of my life.
You must have used good technique and good expression.
Brenda, have you ever had an audition that you thought you bombed and you did well?
I can't remember.
Yeah, I guess that's good, but I can't think of an audition that I bombed. Yeah, I guess that's a good thing. It's because I follow my rules, you know. I follow everything that I just put on here. Mask or no mask for a virtual audition. For a virtual audition, I think no mask, right? I think if you're in your house.
Well, unless they're in a situation like we are, where you're with an accompanist and you need to, if you need to wear a mask for safety wherever that is happening, then you should.
Right. But if you're by yourself in your house, then I would prefer no mask probably. But
require maybe pre-recorded piano.
Yeah, or like a family member accompanying you or something. Yeah, it's a good question. Good question.
But yeah, I would say make sure the person can play the piano.
Right. Yes. Little things like making sure your accompanist knows how to play the piano. Yep. Little things like that.
I've seen that.
Yep. If we were thinking of singing with an accompaniment track, would we have to introduce that? Yeah, Keely, my first bit of advice would be don't sing with an accompaniment track.
If possible.
If you could possibly figure out any alternative, I think from my point of view, you always present yourself stronger when you're performing with another human being, because that's what we're interested in. We're interested in, can you make music with other human beings? If you're singing with an accompaniment, if you have to sing, and most accompaniment tracks are a little chintzy and a little cheesy, and they tend to not sound so good over a virtual audition. Yeah, I know. Well,
I'm not going to be
out of desperation.
But I'm not going to be cheesy.
Yeah. You're not. No, you're definitely.
No, I won't be cheesy.
You're definitely. But you know those accompaniment ones are all.
Right, but I mean, here we're offering. So if you got one from here, it would be better than getting it off.
This is true. Brenda's a big part of Brenda's work this this pandemic semester where we're all online is to record backing tracks for all of our applied students, and she's really enjoying it. Oh no, sorry, I got that right. That's really difficult because we go into this business to make music with other human beings, and we're really lacking that. But it will come back for sure. But Keely, I wouldn't. No, don't introduce it. You don't need to introduce it. Just have it start. If you get somebody else to start it off camera, it looks a little amateur for you to hello, beep, play it, and then start singing. It looks maybe a little bit amateurish. So it's a balance between trying to look as professional as you can and using as many human beings as you can, and what your resources are and what you have available.
So
it's a decision you have to make.
Okay, Keely's.
Sorry.
No, go
I
ahead.
don't have access to an accompanist. That's why I was asking, because I do have like official tracks.
Yeah, so Keely's saying she doesn't have access to accompanist.
Yeah.
So one thing I know, like your school director, perhaps a church director or temple director, and again, that still might not be an option for you, but yeah. So I mean, if it's absolutely you can't work it out, then that's fine too.
It's a toss up between what you have available and your resources and in your community and actually doing it with humans. But Meg is totally right. Reach out to your church choir director or your high school choir director or a theater in your community and say, they'll have 1,000 people who they can recommend to you. And, you could, $40 or $50 probably would be enough for them to make to do a once through with you. It wouldn't be a huge amount of money is what I'm saying. So if that's a possibility, I just think it presents yourself as, it's a good investment to pay that amount of money because it presents yourself as in the most professional.
Yeah, but it won't affect the judging of the accompaniment won't affect your score.
Right. Is it better to audition at the first audition slot? That's a great question. That's a great question. We try to be impartial and present evaluate each singer or each player on their own merits. I always try, if I would sign up for a slot, I would always try to sign up earlier, because auditionees are human, and you get tired throughout the day, and maybe by the end you're just like, okay, one more. This is cellist number 42 of the day, and we gotta move on. So I think signing up earlier in the day when people are fresh and ears are fresh, and also, frankly, judges aren't comparing you to the 12 people who they've heard before in the day. Okay. In a perfect world, we'd be evaluating each equally, but humans are humans. We have our foibles, and they get tired. So I'd go early. That's a good question, though. It's a good question.
Hi, it's Christian here. I'm a percussionist. So I have a question regarding the specifics of the audition. Ooh, feedback. So for the snare drum rudiments, would I be performing, the 40 pas, or would it just be a few? Or that's one of the questions I have.
Did you hear that? So Christian is a percussionist, is asking if he would be performing on the snare drum rudiments, all of them, or just some of them. And I'm thinking just we would select some.
Yeah, usually the way it works is that you have a body of music that you're prepared to perform, and the committee usually you start with one of your choice, and then the committee chooses another one, right? But Zach, if I'm wrong on that, you can jump in and correct me on that.
Does that answer your question, Christian?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
So
I'm not a percussionist, but go ahead.
Yeah. No, I have another question regarding the solo. So I have it up here, the audition. It says 2 solos in contrasting styles.
Uh-huh.
So meaning like it could be like a slow song, or like different styles, meaning like it could be like Latin or something like that.
Yeah, you would go with the contrasting style, like genre, or I guess, and even for you, I think you mentioned marimba in one of your chats. So like you could do, as a percussionist, you could do a different instrument. Will you be? What are you auditioning on?
I'm planning on doing snare marimba. And
Snare
then,
marimba. So
and also put in the chat that I wonder if drum set was an option, and Zach said yes. So I'm planning on doing a drum set audition as well.
Yeah. So Zach is also chiming in here in the chat that you could do, the contrasting would be the two different instruments, marimba and snare. So that would work.
Yep.
Okay, that's all the questions I had. Awesome.
Okay.
Great.
I'm throwing a little comment into the chat too.
Any other questions? These are wonderful. Wonderful questions. I really appreciate them. And in general, I think I'll go back to the way I started, which is that the more auditions you take, the easier they get. So take mock auditions, take practice auditions, practice, be prepared, and then just know these etiquette things that, you know, they're not going to make the difference maybe between you getting in and not, but they really kind of all add up. And they really influence an audition committee's perception of your sort of level of professionalism, okay? Which is important. Great. Well, I want to thank Meg behind the camera for running the tech today, Sam for singing the same thing 45 times in a row, and Brenda for playing the same thing 45 times in a row. I didn't want this to be me just talking into a computer for an hour, but I wanted to actually have a little bit of music making. And it's actually really exciting. This is the first time we've heard any music in this hall for about 7 months now, so it's kind of bittersweet in a way. But we will be back. We will be back sooner than you know to making art together in this gorgeous hall. So thank you, everybody. And we are
Out
of here.